What it do, man? It's the kid Vito, man, vibing with Vito. I want to give a big shout out to Be Organic LLC, man. They send me some goodies, man. You know I like goodies. Look, man, the Zone Up deodorant, body deodorant. Yes, it's body deodorant. It's a sweat reducer. It neutralizes the odor, and it can be used on all parts of the skin. So, again, shop Be Organic. I want to thank y'all for sending this to me. I will be using this. This is all natural, and you know, I got peach on here. It might smell good. Let me smell it right quick. God damn. This smell good for real. I ain't gonna even cap you down. It smell good. Be Organic. Let's do it. Okay, we live in the crib, vibing with Vito. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment on the YouTube. Also follow us on Instagram at Vibing with Vito. You already know the slogan. We vibrate higher. And today I'm with Hall of Famer, WWE Hall of Famer, Diamond Dallas Page, man. Everybody clap it up, clap it up, clap it up. How you doing? Thank you.
You're like 15 minutes from my house.
right. So it's like this is home now.
No,
this is home. You can just pull up. Cool.
Yeah, when I moved out here in '90, when I got with WCW, and then when I retired the first time in 2002, I went out to LA for 10 years, did the acting thing. I hated LA. Right. No disrespect. I call it the weather tax because everything costs so much more.
Right.
But the traffic alone, people think Atlanta has traffic.
Atlanta got bad traffic, though.
But nothing compared to LA. If you lived there for 10 years, and I just couldn't wait to get back. And I came back here, my girls are here, and so a lot of my really close friends are. So I've been here for another 13 years again, but I just built Page's Retreat, and it's not finished yet.
Yeah, that's in Panama.
Panama City Beach.
Dope.
On the beach.
Yeah. We're going to get into that too. Yeah.
It's sweet. So go ahead, do your thing.
Dope. I got $1 million question for you, man.
Sure.
How big would you dream if you knew you couldn't fail?
Dude, that is the first line of Positively Unstoppable. You know, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? And to be perfectly honest, it would be everything that I've done. You know, because I did fail. I failed plenty of times. Right. And that's where people, they have this illusion that to be successful, you just got to keep getting it. No. That's not how you learn. Right. You learn from falling down. You learn from making mistakes. You learn from flat out failing. And, you know, it can crush you or it can make you better. And it made me better. It always does.
Absolutely. So let's talk about humble beginnings and like your upbringing. Take us back on the journey to where it all started.
Oh, God. Yeah, I'll give you some cliff notes.
Okay, cool.
By the time I was 3 years old, my mom was married, divorced, and had 3 kids. She was 19 at the time. My parents split up. My brother and sister went to live with my mom, who in turn gave them to my grandmother. Thank God for grandmothers.
Right. Thank God for grandma.
Thank God for grandmas. And I went with my dad. But my dad couldn't even spell the word father, let alone be one. So I bounced around from family to one to another, you know, like a pinball. And at 8 years old, he brought me to live with my grandma. And so now the 3 of us were together again. And looking back, like, I don't remember a lot of my childhood, but the thing that I take from it is that it's made me incredibly adaptable. Like being able, and that's the only thing that I look back at my childhood, like, man, I can literally be having dinner or playing golf, which I hate, but I could be doing that with a Fortune 500 CEO one day. Right. And I could be riding motorcycles with my buddy Chuck Zito the next. He was the leader of the Hells Angels New York chapter for 25 years. I mean, it's that kind of dramatics to where we are right now. You know, it's like, it made me incredibly adaptable, and I'm so grateful for it.
Dope. So like in life, right? Like I used to always think like at age 30, I needed to have it all figured out from like my life, like growing up. Cause you think, 30's old or whatever, right? When you're a teenager. So I used to always think like, okay, I need to know my life path. I need to have the fancy car. I need to have the wife, the kids, and all of that stuff. Just be on my journey, right? At age 35, you decided to say, hey, I want to take professional wrestling seriously, right?
Well,
and you jumped into it, right? What gave you the courage to like kind of like
go in that direction and also say, I'm starting now at 35?
That's when I started wrestling. I actually had in the backstory, the cliff notes. I tried it when I was 23 for a couple of months. I sucked. I couldn't do anything. Really wasn't learning anything. Back then, a clothesline would have been a 1, 2, 3, a finish.
Oh, okay.
I hurt my knee. It took me out of it after 2 months. I'm out of it. But my dream is always to be a wrestler and work in the WWF. That's what it was called back then, the WWE. And I lost focus of that dream because I got a chance to run at 23 years old, this little rock and roll bar. I've been in the nightclub business since I was 17. So the booze, the broads, and the party took me in a different direction. And the only thing, like when WrestleMania started happening, that was in '79 when I was 22.
That was the first WrestleMania?
No. In 1979 is when I left the dream of wrestling. Well, now in the 80s, here comes WrestleMania. And I am so pissed at myself for not continuing to follow the dream. Because I honestly felt in my soul I would have been a part of all of that.
Absolutely.
And I proved it much later, but at that time, it's just another dream you're thinking of. But I was mad at myself. So I completely shut wrestling out. And then one night, it's in 1986. Now I'm running a big club in Fort Myers, Florida. Big club. And I own a little piece of it. I'm flicking the channels and wrestling comes on. And I see this dude with a leather coat and this do-rag and crazy sunglasses and a boa, and he's with Gorilla Monsoon. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? He's amazing. It's Jesse the Body Ventura. And I'm like, fuck, he's amazing. And the first guy that comes through the curtain got a bag over his shoulder and a Fu Manchu and walked to that ring with such swag before anybody was talking swag. Jake the Snake Roberts had it. And I watched it, and then I watched him in the ring, and I couldn't see through his shit. And then he cut that promo afterwards. I was like, fuck, who is this guy? I immediately became a wrestling fan again. 6 months later, this is God's work. This is just the way it laid out. 6 months later, he walks in that club.
Jake the Snake?
Yes, in Fort Myers, Florida. You have to understand, if you work Miami one night and Tampa the next, that's 300 miles. Fort Myers was right in the middle. So Jake pulled over to have a few cocktails, and next thing you know, me and him are getting shit-faced.
He didn't
pay for anything. I was just psyched to be around him.
Happy to see him.
And he told the guys, and hey, there's a guy there. He'll take care of you. You won't have any trouble. He'll hook you up. And $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, the Bushwhackers. So many of the guys started coming through. And that's what fueled this night of, one night I'm collecting the drawers, all the money drawers from all of them. And it's just closed. The club is closed. But my VJ is playing Girls Just Want to Have Fun by Cyndi Lauper. And in that video is Captain Lou Albano and Nikolai Volkov and a couple other wrestlers when they're dancing around, and I'm looking at the screen, and I just, to myself, I say rock and wrestling. I should have been a part of that. And I walk in the back. Now I got 11 bartenders, and they're all counting their money. Beautiful chicks, cool dudes, and the head bartender walks in, he goes, Page J, because my real name, before I changed it to Dallas Page almost 30 years ago, my real name was Page Joseph Falkenberg. And I knew that name was never going to draw any money in the world of professional wrestling. So what had happened is Smokey comes in and he says, Page J, what do you mean rock and wrestling? You should have been a part of that. I'm like, you heard that? He goes, yeah, you said it loud enough. I heard you. I go, well, I tried it when I was a kid. He goes, what? You were a wrestler? I go, no.
I tried.
I tried it for 2 months, man. He goes, what was your name? I said, handsome Dallas Page. And he went, phew, you can forget about using that gimmick anymore.
Right.
Everybody popped. And that night, at some, like, we're drinking now, that in nightclubs, like, that's the time where everybody lets go
Right.
for the next couple hours.
Right.
And, you know, if they're sticking around after they count their money and do that shit, we all, you know, we're drinking already. So, you know, we're just getting a good buzz going, and more shit started happening with wrestling. And at some point, I've got a pad in front of me, like a monthly journal that you write down things on. And I would doodle on it occasionally.
Right.
And I wrote down Diamond Dallas Page. And I look up and I go, you know, I'm too old to be a wrestler. I was 31 at the time. I said, I'm too old to be a wrestler, but I'm not too old to be a manager. I said, Jimmy Hart, he's got the Hart Foundation. I could have the Diamond, I could be Diamond Dallas Page and have the Diamond Exchange.
Right, okay.
Woo, shot. Now we're doing shots and, you know, we're getting a good buzz going. And I write that down. And then at some point I go, you know, there's not a lot of good looking women in professional wrestling. And my one bartender goes, Miss Elizabeth's beautiful. I go, yeah, but she's girl next door hot. What if I had a whole stable of the ladies and I called them Diamond Dolls and they were stripper hot? And Smokey goes, ooh, that'll be a stretch. Because I was fucking everything back then.
Right.
Yeah, just having fun. And wrote it down. At the end of the night, you know, we're getting ready to leave, and I just go, man, can you imagine if Diamond Dallas Page had his own group of wrestlers from the Diamond Exchange and the Diamond Dolls? I go, that's B-A-double-D bad. And I said, did I steal that from somebody? I wrote that down.
Right.
And literally, I guess it would have been about 2 weeks later, I get a call, and it was called the Party News Network. And they were a Southwest Florida, you know, what's happening in town, cable, like PBS thing. And they wanted to do a story on the guy who had the voice, who would do the commercials for Norma Jeans, which was me. I did all my own commercials on shit. And they came and they filmed me. I'm wearing a WrestleMania t-shirt.
Dope.
I mean, I'm Mickey Mark at this point, you know. Huge mark for Jake, but all the guys are coming in. They're buddies of mine, a lot of them now.
Right.
And at some point, we're in my office, and I was thinking about this on the way down here, because you see a lot of athletes, you see a lot of movie stars. They wear the sunglasses when they're being interviewed, right? So they're interviewing me, and they say, so where does the voice come from? And I look down at Diamond Dallas Page, blah, 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 blah. And there's a pair of white sunglasses there. And B, I don't know if I do it if the sunglasses aren't there, but they were. And I put them on, and I said, the voice comes from Diamond Dallas Page, Daddy. I was born to be a professional wrestling manager. It's big, it's bad, it's Norma Jean's voice. And then I went back and started talking about where we're at.
Right.
But somebody saw it.
They was impressed.
They saw, well, it was just a guy who was doing a radio show that he did boxing, but he wanted to add in wrestling one day a month.
Right.
And he called me and wanted me to be on the show. I go, bro, I don't really do it. I was just making that shit up. You know, like, I don't really do it.
Right.
He goes, who cares? It's radio. I go, no, man, I don't feel comfortable. And then he says to me, well, I kind of wanted you to be my expert because I'm going to have Captain Lou Albano, who's in the Cyndi Lauper video,
Right.
and one of my favorite talkers of all times, and he wants me to be, I go, do I get to talk to the captain? He's like, absolutely. I go, I'm in.
Okay.
So I do that one. I do one a month later with Sergeant Slaughter, and that guy Smitty, he says to me, you never know where your breaks are going to come from. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And Smitty says, you know, you got to do something with this Diamond Dallas Page thing. I'm like, do what? What we're doing? Sure. But dude, there's no wrestling around here or anything. And he said, you know, I got a friend of mine who used to be a boxing promoter. Now he's promoting for the AWA, which was a Midwestern territory back in the
territories back in the days.
Right.
Yeah.
And he gave me his number. His address. And he said, send this to Rob Russin. I go, send what? He goes, you'll think of something. So what I created was backstory for Diamond Dallas Page, like any actor would do. But then I had 3 wrestlers. One I called Big Bad John, one I called Rock Hard Rick, and one I called Ted E. Bear, and he was a midget.
Okay.
And he walked in with the Diamond Dolls. And I cut these friggin' promos like it was real and sent them to the AWA. 2 weeks later, I get a call from this guy, Rob Russin. Hello, this is Rob Russin from the AWA. Is Diamond Dallas Page there? Like, no one's ever called me that before, besides the people I'm doing this with, right? And I once heard a reverend say, the quickest way to get there is to act like you've already been there. And I just flipped into it. I went, hey, Rob, this is DDP. Never called myself that before that, ever.
Wow.
I said, what's up, man? He goes, well, we saw your tape, and we like it. And want to bring you and your boys in for a tryout here in Vegas. He said, but we got one question. No one's ever heard of you before. Where are you guys working at? And I'm like, fuck.
Right.
So I'll always go to the truth, no matter what, right?
Right.
And I said, truth is, Rob, none of those guys can wrestle. What? Why would you send the tape? And back then, it was like a secret society getting involved in wrestling. Like you had to really know somebody or have a father.
Right.
And most times your father friggin' didn't smarten you up that it was work.
Right.
You know, he's still
Yeah.
pitching that this shit's real.
Right.
And it was just such a, you couldn't get in. And I said, well, if you got, these guys really want to train, so if you have a spot for them to train, they would love to go. But if you got someone who needs someone who can talk, I can talk for them. Don't call us, we'll call you. And they hung up. And now, one of the biggest stars, and I think maybe the greatest character in professional wrestling for the last 20 years has been Paul Heyman.
Man, Paul Heyman is my guy, bro.
Back then he was called Paul E. Dangerously. And he had the phone back when the phone was this big, and he'd hit people in the head with the phone.
And he kept that going for like years later.
Long time, man. He left the AWA and went to go work for the NWA, which was about to be bought by Ted Turner and become WCW. And it left a void for a young guy that could talk. If Paul doesn't leave, if I don't send that tape, it never happens. If Paul doesn't leave, it never happens. But the planets aligned, and it did. And for the next 3.5 years, I did that. I got to be with Dusty Rhodes in Florida Championship Wrestling.
Right.
I built relationships. And one of the most important things, you're watching this, and I can tell you, you deal from a positive standpoint, because that's what life is about, really. They call it now hope molecules. There's science around having a positive attitude. And it's all about having that attitude. So when it comes to Paul, him leaving there, and then that opening up for me, next 3.5 years, I build relationships. I'm making no money. It costs me money to be Diamond Dallas Page at these shows that I go to, whatever. And what I realize is that relationships are the most important thing we have, and they cost nothing. You know, a real relationship. People will think that, oh, it's all about who you know or who knows you. That's not true at all. It's about who's willing to say they know you. You see, to get to me the way you did, you had to go through Marlon. And Marlon had to care about you and check you out and vet you and say, hey, this kid, he's tight. And where do you see the song? I said, I know who he is.
Hey, thank you again for reposting my song too. That was like, because when I put it out, I was like, it was just like, you know how you just, again.
Sure, put it out there.
The universe aligned and it got to you. And you follow me. I'm like, bro, this is not Diamond Dallas Page. Follow me. So I go on your page. I'm like, wait, hold on. I see all the people that likes your, I'm like, nah, this is really him. This is really Diamond Dallas Page. So I'm like, man, thank you. And then like, man, that was dope, man.
You put me over in that space, which was very, you know, I'm humbled by that. It's super cool. I've had a lot of rappers, you know, friggin' over the years. I was doing a movie with Snoop Dogg's Hood of Horror. And I mean, Method Man walked to the back, threw up diamond cutter, walking in the room, the bang, the shake.
Yeah, that's
Jamie Foxx, when I was doing stuff with MTV and him, and so I had a lot of guys, Redmond, just a lot of the guys who did it, respected what we did,
Yeah,
and again, anytime you can get them to do what you're doing,
Right.
that's a super rub,
Yeah, definitely.
So that opened the door, and so it's about who's willing to say they know you. And put their name on the line for you. So those relationships. They take time, and they have to be authentic, because you can tell when someone's just trying to smooze you,
Right.
But it really comes down to, I don't have the career, I don't have the Hall of Fame ring, I don't have any of it without the relationships. And Dusty Rhodes is the most pivotal person in my life, and the next one is Jake Snake Roberts.
Right.
Those two guys.
Facts. I want to talk stats with you. Can we talk stats while you're here?
Sure.
All right, cool. So you have, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, 15 championships? Are you?
God,
was
I
you
don't
50?
even tell you guys the truth.
Look, let's go. All right, so WCW World Heavyweight Champion 3 times.
Yep. And for anybody who's watching who don't really wrestle, but you somehow got pulled into this, that's like our Oscar.
Right.
That's our Oscar.
This is like, for me, like, okay, like us going platinum and winning awards and stuff. I guess the belts will be the same, kind of like, right?
Sure.
All right, so let's do it. WCW World Heavyweight Champion 3 times. WCW United States Heavyweight Champion 2 times. Right. WCW World Tag Team Champion 4 times.
Right.
Okay. We have the WCW World Television Champion 1 time.
And that was the first one. They sort of give you, like, I'm one of 4 people who have all of those belts.
Right.
And I'm one of 2 people who have also the Battle Bowl ring as well.
Oh, wow.
Which was Sting, Dusty, and me.
Wow.
That was it.
We got some more, man. Let's keep going. All right, so let's pivot. WWF, you were a European champion 1 time. WWF, you were a tag team champion 1 time.
Right.
Now let's switch it. WWE, you were a hardcore champion 1 time. Right. Now let's go TNA. Right. Let's talk TNA. The Legends champion 1 time. Right. And then you have the TNA World Tag Team Champion 1 time.
Right. It was a fun run.
It was a fun run. So I got a question for you. Out of all of those belts, right, which one gave you that, wow, I did the unthinkable moment?
Well, that would absolutely be the world title at first. And Dusty used to say, the only thing that's real in our business is that first world championship title.
You sound just like him. Wow.
And that Hall of Fame ring.
Wow.
Like, those are 2 things that are really real. But the first United States Championship was amazing because it was off of Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, one of the greatest performers in our business.
Wow.
And when you're out there, and back in the AWA when I was a manager, he was one of the top guys, and we became good friends. And he actually tried to bring me into WWE with him as a manager, but I was taller than him.
Okay.
So here I watch this guy. He's one of the guys who I patterned some of the stuff that I did after was Kurt Hennig. And now here I am working with him. And at this point, I'm better than he is. Wow. At that moment. Now, if you go back to his prime, he's still better than me. But he didn't do it the way I did it. You know what I mean?
Right.
He started as a kid coming up. And it was the World Championship. I got to tell you this story. This is one of my favorite stories ever. I'm on the phone with Dusty because Dusty wasn't just my mentor. He was like my big brother, and sometimes he was like my dad. I could be there. He would smarten me up to shit because our business is just like music business. It's fucked up.
Right.
We were talking about before about like we're like a family. Yeah, a really dysfunctional family. It's like rappers.
Right.
It's the same. It's so close. And comedians.
Right.
It's all the same shit. And so Dusty, I call him up. It's 1994, and I'm at the I'm not at the bottom anymore. I'm at the bottom of the middle of the card. And no one ever sees me going past that.
Right.
And I'm saying to Dusty, I said, Dream, I know I'm never going to be you. I know I'm never going to be Rick or Hulk. I know I'm never going to be the world champion. But these sons of me are done it. Enough. What did you just say? Now I feel kind of stupid, I'm like.
Because you said that on the phone with like your idol. Like,
right, I'm like, well, I know I'm never going to be you, Dream, or or Rick. And before I can even say Hulk, he goes, "No, D. What did you say after that?" I said, "Well, I know I'm never going to be the world champion." He said, "Then what the fuck are you doing it for? Dallas, as hard as you work, as much time as you put in the business, as good as yours becoming, if you don't believe you're going to be the world champion, you might as well get the fuck out of our business right now." And B, I felt like he reached through the phone and just bitch slapped me.
Right.
And he kept yelling at me, and he'd never yelled at me ever. I can't tell you what he said, but I can tell you exactly what I did. Next to my phone, it was on a cord phone. Remember those?
Yeah, right.
And there was a ledger pad, and I wrote on it, "I will be the world champion in 5 years or less." And it was 4 years, 4 months, and 14 days later, 6 days after my 43rd birthday, 1999, I stepped in the ring. There was only 3 four-way dances that I even remember, and this was one of them. First one and only one I was ever. I was in 2 of them.
Was it Spring Stampede?
It was Spring Stampede.
Okay.
I stepped in the ring with Rick and Hulk and Sting, the
Fatal
franchise.
4-way match, right?
Fatal 4-way, and and Macho Man.
Macho Man was the ref.
Right, and he literally put me over 2 years early at Spring Stampede, and my life was never the same. When Mach put me over and my career exploded, he knew he was pulling me up to help me. Just like in your business, one of the guys will pull you up to help you, you know, like Dre did for M, you know, like
absolutely.
that kind of shit, you know?
Man, that's amazing. So you already talked about an iconic moment right there, but you have a whole bunch of iconic moments. So you teamed up with Karl Malone.
That was fun.
Yeah, that was funny. It was dope. And also, Jay Leno came out with you. Jay Leno came out with you all the way. And we just talked about Spring Stampede. I was going to talk about, like, you were holding up the belt. It was upside down. You was like so happy about that, but you already kind of talked about like that feeling.
Yeah,
but
it let me know that inside my Hall of Fame ring, inscribed, a lot of guys just put their name or whatever. I wrote, "Work ethic equals dreams!" Exclamation point, DDP. Because that's it. It's all about work ethic. I heard Tom Brady say the other day on one of the podcasts. He said, "To be successful at anything, the truth is, you don't have to be special. You just have to be willing to do what most people aren't willing to do. Commitment, consistency, and discipline. No shortcuts." And I was like, I'm stealing that quote and putting it on him.
Right,
Because there's a guy who knows.
Right.
I mean, he was, 199th pick, right? And if Mahomes can stay healthy,
he's gonna be like Brady.
he could break it. But
Absolutely.
right now, he's only halfway there.
Right.
Yeah.
So looking at your career in like totality, right? What would you say the fondest moments you had in professional wrestling were?
The Hall of Fame. Like that moment, being in front of 22,000 people. You're the guy. Everybody has someone to help them write their shit. Not me. Yeah,
went out there.
The guy who came, his name was Foz, and the day before the Hall of Fame, I'm going through the hallways. Like I go, "Hey, Foz." He goes, "DDP, I've been looking for you, man." He goes, I'm gonna help you write your speech." I go, "Foz, do you not think this fucker was written like 3 months ago?" I mean, come on, bro.
Right.
He goes, "Well, look, can we run through it?" He goes, 15 minutes, right? Under 15? I said, "It's closer to 30. "Oh, dude, you can't go over 15. So that night, I go back and I cut it. He calls me up after I've got it all done and said, "Hey," he goes, "can I come up and hear what you've got, the original?" I go, you want to hear the original? You go, go on, come on up. I had him laughing and choking him up, and it was badass. It was the best thing I ever did in professional wrestling, you know. And he went and talked to Kevin Dunn, who was this, you know, the guy who controls everything.
Right.
And he said, okay, Kevin said, don't go over 30, you're first. So now I've got this, and it's on my iPad as like prompter to remind me. I know it, but I still want to see that it's there. And I could have, and this is where people have to understand, you are the story you tell yourself. Whatever you have going on in your brain is where your body is going to go. If you decide you're going to fail and this is going to be horrible, you're fucking right. One of my favorite quotes ever is, if you say you can or you say you can't, you're right. And then I'll tell you, you know who said that originally, made it famous?
Who said that?
Henry Ford said that. But what the fuck did he ever do? You know?
Right.
And he was a crazy fucker, not a good person for what I've learned, but he was a genius because he only had a 6th grade education, and anybody who fucking he didn't know, you know, what to do, he hired them. You know, he didn't invent the car, but he invented the assembly line, which changed life forever.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now it's going to be all full of robots doing that shit.
Right. Man, so you have a close relationship with Cody Rhodes.
Very close.
We mentioned Dusty. You have a close relationship with Cody. Seeing him finish his story and also being a part of his story, how does that make you feel, seeing the American Nightmare like on top of the pinnacle of wrestling right now?
It's so funny. We were talking yesterday, and we don't talk that much. We text a lot, but the schedule he has is so insane that, you know, when he's talking to him, he really wants to spend it with his wife.
Right.
But
and
you know,
his dog, I would assume he has a dog too.
Yeah, oh God, he's a big dog person. But we talked about, you know, just everything that's coming up and where do you see it all going? And like I say, wrestling is predetermined. So, you know, getting there to that spot is next to impossible. Holding on to it is even harder. And it really sounds like they got a lot of good things lined up that where it could go. When I look back at, like, I've been mentoring him since he was 12. Mainly because what his dad did for me in the beginning. But by the time he was 15, it was for him. And he really won me over when it was going into his sophomore year. And I was getting ready to go to WWE. And I said, I used to call him Young Buck all the time. And knowing his affiliation with the Young Bucks and everything, kind of crazy, right? But I say Young Buck, so when are you going to start playing football? Because he loved football. And his dad would coach, and I'd come in and talk to the team every year. And he said, you know, I'm not going to play football this year. I go, what? You love football? He goes, yeah. He goes, but I want to focus on wrestling. You know, not this year, but junior year, I'm going to win the state championship. I was like, wow, Young Buck, that's a bold statement. I said, you know what that's going to take? He said, yeah, work. He got up at 4:30 every morning and started his work at 4:30, in bed by 9:30. And this became a ritual for him. I moved out to LA, and I'd call him up that junior year, 11-0, 20-0, 30-0. And I was like, Young Buck, just keep your feet on the ground, keep your feet planted in the ground. Stay humble and keep reaching for those stars. If you end up in the state finals, I'll be there. You're gonna come from LA, you're gonna come? I go, I'll be there. I watched him go 48-0. But the real story is, and I listened to Jordan say this, I listened to Brady say this, let's not talk about the wins. Let's talk about the losses, you know, and what they did for me or to me. So his 11th or 12th match his senior year, he lost. And I called him up just like Marlon had called me and said, you know, Cody lost. I said, no, really? He said, all right, let me call him. Like, hey, Young Buck, what's up, buddy? It's like, Dallas, I lost. I fucking lost. I said, thank God. What? Why would you say that? I said, Code, you think you learned from winning? Bro, you learn from losing. You learn from falling down. You learn from making mistakes. What did you learn from this? He reeled off a couple things. But what he really started to learn, because he was the man, besides that kid who beat him.
Right.
They're guys in this whole state of Georgia and at 188. And nobody wanted to get pinned. And somewhere around a couple matches later, he realized, oh, this fucker's not trying to win. He's just trying not to get pinned. So after he take him down, rode him a little while, got off him. Come on. Take him down again, rode him, got off him. Took him down, pinned him. By the time he got to the state finals, I went there with my daughter, Brittany.
Yeah.
And
shout out to Brittany.
Yeah. Me and Britt were sitting up in the stands, and the family, you get 4 or 5 chairs when you're state finals in your state of Georgia. And he's like, to his Dad, get Dallas down here. I don't know if it was Grandpa or somebody, but somebody had to get off the seat, give me a seat. Right. And I was down there, and he faced that kid who beat him. He was 47-0. And he ate that dude. Like, I mean, just
destroyed him.
Just friggin' piled it up on him.
Right.
And, he's 2-time state champion. So I knew the work ethic. Like, he knew. And so when I felt it was bad for what was happening to him with the Stardust characters and all that shit. Yeah. But he knew, like what we talked about earlier, he saw it. The people who say, I'll believe it when I see it, unfortunately, those people never see shit. It's the people who say, I believe it because I see it. Where you are right now, what you're doing with your podcast, what you're doing your rapping, like you see it and you just got to keep moving towards the light. I saw it. You have to be able to see it. And if it doesn't matter who else sees it, you have to.
Absolutely.
And that's this whole ride that he's been on.
It's been amazing.
Has been incredible. I told him, I said, his agent, his name is Brian. And I know Brian from back when he was a fan. Okay. Now he's Cody Rhodes' agent. He's a big agent out in Hollywood. Really good kid. And he was telling me at the last pay-per-view, Bad Blood, which was right here in the ATL, he was like, man, Cody, man, he wanted me on the bus with him, coming in. I had to fly out to LA. He's like, come on back out.
Yeah, right.
And he's like, so like when we ended up finished talking, I told him a story about Brian. And I said, so listen, not this month or December. I said, but January, give me a couple dates and I'll hop on the bus with you and I'll do a loop. You do like 4 or 5 days. He's like, oh man, I'd love that. So that'll be a really great time for bonding and enjoying this time because, I mean, the schedule he has is insane.
Crazy. Yeah, he's on the road all like.
Another guy that I'm super tight with is like, he calls me his adopted dad because his dad's a super guy up there, is Teddy Swims.
Yeah, I was gonna talk to you about Teddy Swims. I seen that relationship that y'all had. And he talks very highly about you in every interview too.
Well, Dominique Wilkins, a buddy of mine, and Neek is probably one of the classiest motherfuckers on the planet.
Okay.
He just is. And I originally met him in a podcast and that he had done. And we became friends, and I'm a part of Culture City, which it helps kids and adults with autism, and they set up these mostly in buildings and stuff, so the kids who can't deal with the really loud noises.
Right.
It's a great organization. They do a lot of work out of Birmingham, and Neek is the face of it. So what was it?
You talking about Teddy Swims?
Thank you. So I get to Neek's 60th birthday. And my daughter Brittany, one of my best friends, Josh Nair, and my wife Paige, we're all there. We come walking in, and it said like dressed to impress, so we are decked out. Nobody else is dressed out.
Y'all just came in there fresh for no reason.
Nobody. I'd rather it would be overdressed than underdressed.
Right.
And Teddy, and I don't know him from Adam at this time. He's got like, socks on. He's got his like Crocs off to the side. His shorts on, a big baggy t-shirt. And he walks up, he goes, oh my God, DDP. He was like, I'm Dallas. If no one else is going to sell this, I am. Oh man, it's such a pleasure to meet you, and blah, blah, blah. So he goes, would you come back and hear me sing? And what had happened is Neek loved listening to him do his covers he was doing on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
And I can't remember who actually said it to him. I said, Neek, this kid right here, he's from Conyers.
Yeah.
What? He's from, let's get him over to play at the birthday party.
Right.
So Neek kind of really discovered him, right?
Yeah.
And so I came back and listened to him play. I was like, holy shit, like, this is like a male Adele.
Yeah, his voice is like, it's like different. It's just like, it speaks to you when you hear him sing.
It's really, it's an amazing effect he has on people when they, and when you're, when you see him out there with the people and stuff, like he really is that guy. And later that night, Neek brought out some really good tequila, and now we're partying hard. And I look over him, I go, I've been where you're at right now as far as on this party life you're on. I said, with that voice, that is not a good combination, bro. And I said, you should come up and work out with me. Never thinking he's gonna. He came up with his manager. His manager, Luke, never came back.
Yeah, right.
But Teddy did.
He continued.
And he lost like 40 pounds. And
this is before he like
before anything.
Okay.
Before anything.
Right.
And did you ever see the you watch TV at all?
Yeah.
All right. Do you know who Paul Walter Hauser is?
I don't know who Paul.
Oh well, did you see Blackbird on where he
my
plays
girl,
Serial Crow?
my girl watches that type stuff.
Well, either way, he's one of the best actors of your generation.
Okay.
He's unbelievable, and he was staying with me, dropping weight to do Blackbird on Apple, which where he plays a serial killer. He won the People's Choice and he won the Emmy for it. And I got both of those guys together. They're both like 280 something when they start.
Okay.
And then towards the end, they were like 240 something or whatever.
Right.
And they became good friends, and that's where we really bonded on life's lessons. And when you're on that rocket he's on right now, it's really hard to keep your feet on the ground because people are coming in, especially if you're a natural partier.
Right.
You're going to start partying with them.
You're going to start meeting different people everywhere you go.
And you want to be sober for it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like having control of it. So Teddy, I love him so much. He's got so much talent, and he's got such a good heart.
I can tell.
And when I have someone like that I'm working with, and it really becomes like part of my family, I'm going to go out like I do with him. Going to go out with Cody, just spend some time, quality time, and make sure that I show them all the things that if I was on the road, I'd be in the gym. I'd still be doing all the shit I do. I'd be getting body work done. When your body feels better, when you're eating good food, when you're not drinking. I still drink, but when you're not drinking it, you don't want to drink every night.
Right.
And the people, they don't know the difference. They think the party's here and this is the best time of my life.
Right.
Because he's such a real person. He's like you. He's just he's good people,
Thank
man.
you, man. I like your shirt too, man. By the way, man. Which brings me to my next question, right? So, looking at your career, your professional career in totality, right? And it's super inspiring. But let's talk about DDPY. What made you want to start that? Like, how did you get into like yoga and all of this stuff?
Out of necessity. It wasn't like I thought, I think I'll try doing, make up my own yoga. No, what happened is I'm the guy who wouldn't be caught dead doing yoga the first 42 years of my life. But then I broke my back. And that happened in right towards the end of, can't remember exact date on it, but it was somewhere around the end of 98, 99. And 3 different spine specialists told me my wrestling career was over. I just signed a multi-million-dollar 3-year deal. If I don't get in that ring, that money goes bye-bye. And it's like the NFL to a certain degree.
I was going to ask you, is it like, okay, if you sign like your wrestling deal, right?
It depends. Everybody's is different. And mine was negotiated. I had 6 months. If I didn't get back in 6 months, they could have just cut, and there's times where they will cut it, and there's times where they won't. It depends who it is, how old they are. But I was 42, almost 43, and at that point, my first wife, Kimberly, who's now the COO of my company, She was the Diamond Doll, the main Diamond Doll, and all that coming up. And she was like, you really should try yoga to heal your body. And my comeback was, fuck that. I wouldn't be caught dead doing yoga.
Right.
Now my name's attached to it,
Yeah, DDPY.
which is kind of funny, But it started with me trying to do the video, watching back then a VHS tape.
Right.
And I couldn't do any of it, so I would hold onto a chair, and figure out. And before you knew it, after about 3 weeks, the chair was gone and I was getting more mobile.
Right.
And I started adding in rehab, because I was doing rehab too. I just mix them together. And I just threw in a bunch of stuff that really wasn't yogic, but blended. And in less than 3 months, I was back in the ring. At 42, they said my career's over. At 43, I'm the world champ.
Wow.
So I knew, like, if I don't do it, like, every single day, I am the old man.
Right.
Like, I'm 6 months from 69. And
You about to be 69?
Gonna be 69, bro.
You don't look 69 at all, bro.
And I don't feel it. That's what's crazy.
Good.
My joints do sometimes. I'm still a Ferrari. I just got 998,000 miles on it.
Right.
But just to show you, and I do this all the time, like, we were just sitting here for about half an hour or so, being able to, you got that camera bounce back enough?
Yeah.
It bounce back enough? Be able to stand here and talk to you and grab either foot.
Bro.
And pull it over my head. Hold on.
Uh-oh.
All right. At 6'4". Whoa.
Uh-oh. Yeah, you good.
I'm gonna get this.
You good.
Now I gotta get
Don't
it.
fall, bro.
All right, hold on here. I'll knock the wall down. 6'4". Come on, bitch. I want to get
Come
there.
on.
This is the hardest I ever had because I'm looking at all black walls.
Oh, look.
Damn. All right.
Here we go.
Here we go. Boom. 6'4", 224 pounds of twisted steel and sex appeal.
Bro, hey, clap it up. All right.
I just didn't want to go with one of the walls.
No, I didn't want you to go through the wall either, bro. That would have been a blueprint for Bobby with Vito.
That's called red light energy.
All right, let's talk about, so before we get up out of here, I got a couple more questions. Let's talk about the Butterbean comeback. Like, that story, man, that was so inspiring, man. Seeing him come to you barely walking almost.
Brutal.
And then you started working with him and you got him back to standing and, feeling confident about life. Like,
running.
Yeah. Feeling confident, you know what I mean? Like how did that make you feel and how did that encourage you to say, look, I want to continue to save lives and, change lives?
Well, Bean came to me on a show we were just happened to both be on called Tough Talk.
Right.
Boss Rutan, one of the baddest motherfuckers ever.
Right.
Was on the show, and Flex Wheeler, the bodybuilder. And at some point, someone said, so what do you got coming up next? I said, well, I'm working on a docu-series show that's called Change or Die. And that's how it came to be, that Bean, when Flex heard that, he's like, man, Butterbean needs to be in that, because Butterbean was just, he's in a wheelchair most of the time.
Right.
He could walk, but he'd have the cane.
He had hunched over,
so bad, man. It was when he got to my house, I didn't know he was that bad until he got there. And then I was like, oh, fuck. How are we gonna fix him? And my business partner, Steve Hughes, one of the most optimistic human beings alive when it comes to, inspirational stuff. He said, but what if we can? And the what if? And we did, because he followed the program. And
he was determined. He was so determined.
He wants to fight, and we're still trying to get him a fight.
He wants to fight?
He wants just one more fight. He just wants one more to show what he can do at 57. And of course, he wants one more payoff, too.
Right.
But it's not, I think being, I've held the mitts for him. I said, no,
you still got that power?
Oh, he's still got serious power.
Butterbean was one of them dudes where he just looked like a regular guy, but he would knock your ass out. Like,
and a big, heavy.
Right.
Some of his fights, he was like 350, 380.
Damn.
And only like 5'11", man. So when that sumbitch came through, and he just had deadly hands, you know? So he'd love to go back and do that. And we're doing a documentary on this whole journey with him as well. Because these are heartfelt docs that, you know, that men want to watch. You know what I mean? They call them like tearjerkers for guys.
Right. I got a question for you, man. So I have a slogan that I always say, purpose over popularity. When I say that slogan to you, how can you put that in your own words?
Every question that comes up in my life, decision, let's use it as a decision. Every decision that I make, before I will, especially if it's on the edge, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I ask myself, how does that make me feel about me? And if it makes me feel okay, I'm good. I'm with it. If it doesn't make me feel good about me, I just don't do it. Like, I'll give you a great example. And they wouldn't do it right now, but if Coca-Cola offered me $1 million or $100 million, and oh, fuck you, you take it. No, I wouldn't, because it goes against everything that I believe in. I believe in eating real food. Real food can help heal your body, or it can fuck your body. And when they keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's not, the food is not the food we ate
years ago,
35, 40 years ago.
Right.
Back then, it was still processed and everything, but it was at least real food. They've genetically changed so much of our food. A great example, I saw a video, I'm gonna put it back up on me, and I'm gonna talk about it. Like Fruit Loops, which is total garbage, okay? It's not even food, it's chemicals. But you can't send our Fruit Loops that we have, our Coca-Cola that we have, our whatever you want to pick that we have, we'll not let it come into the UK. We'll not let it go into Italy or France.
Right.
So you know what they do? They give them better ingredients and still ship the shit out there. It's not as bright. It's just, it'll blow your mind. They can do it.
Right.
They could give us healthier food.
Right.
But that cuts down on what?
The money.
Right. On their bottom line.
Right.
So Coca-Cola or Red Bull or any of that shit, like I don't use any, like this right here, this is my own concoction that my wife puts together all the time. That's the healthiest and the best tasting shake you've ever had. And it's a food substitute, because I only eat like maybe 2 meals a day anymore.
Right.
You know,
Right.
but I'll drink a couple shakes, and it's health, but it tastes great. You know?
Wow. So purpose over popularity means to you, like if anything that jeopardizes who you are, you're like,
I live my purpose.
Right.
I walk my talk.
Right.
I don't, no one can tell me what I can or can't do. No one controls me. No one tells me I've got to be this way or that way.
Right.
I control my own destiny. I have zero debt, zero of everything.
Right.
And it's a way that I decided to live because I could. But it was 20 years ago I started living like that. Or really about 18 years ago.
That's dope. So let's talk about, because you have a film titled Relentless, right?
Yep.
Right? And you also, we already talked about your retreat. Let's talk about your film. Like, where can people...
Resurrection of Jake the Snake would be the best one.
Okay. So
Resurrection of Jake. If you haven't seen the Resurrection of Jake, it'll come up, Relentless will come up right with it.
Okay.
On Amazon Prime.
Right. And these are out already too as well.
Yeah, they're out. They were on Netflix originally, and then I wanted to change them over to another platform. And Amazon Prime, is as good as any of them out there right now. But if you watch Relentless and you see that I bring Jake and Scott Hall.
Rest in peace to Scott Hall, the bad guy. Wow.
Man, he was great, man.
He was great, bro.
Both of those guys should have had multiple world champions, like multiple, like 5, 6, 8, 10, But because of their addiction, you couldn't count on them. You could count on them, but you couldn't totally count on them back then. Jake today has been 13 years sober since we did that. He's a different cat. Like, we talk all the time, you know, we spend, you know, we were supposed to go up and see Aerosmith, and Teddy was opening up for them, and up in but then Tyler, his voice went, and I mean, we had seen him, the four of us, his wife, who he's back with his wife that he did the Angles with, with Rick Rude and stuff. Yeah. And she threw him out a couple of times because he was a friggin' addict, you know, and always loved him and took him back and then threw him out. And he was gone for a long time before they went back. And they are amazing together.
Right.
It's like that now. This is the guy she wanted to be married to.
Right. That's good.
That's
good. That's good. Well, I mean, like, I gotta tap in with those films too. Marlon was telling me about those films.
Yeah, Jake's documentary is so powerful. It'll make you cry, and it's dark, has to do with addiction, but it's also super inspiring, and it'll make you laugh.
Right.
You know, so it has moments throughout it. And my business partner, Steve Yu, who's one of the best storytellers I've ever seen, like, he took 500 plus hours of filming and put it into 93 minutes of, you know, if it would have been a documentary about, you know, music industry, you know, three guys from the music industry or three golfers, it probably would have won the Academy Award. But because it was about three wrestlers, kind of looked down on their nose. And that's finally changing. Because wrestling is
popping again.
It's bigger than ever
I want to talk. Okay, so and this would be my last. I got two more questions for you. Since you brought that up, like, I feel like Triple H is doing an amazing job with WWE. That's number one.
Amazing.
So let's talk about the storyline, and let's talk about, like, today's, like, wrestling and stuff like that. How do you feel about the Bloodline storyline? How do you feel about Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair tag team champs? And how do you feel about the upcoming match with Cody and Gunther for the Crown Jewel belt?
Well, let's start with the Bloodline. The Bloodline was so well done.
Absolutely.
I mean, based in reality. When The Rock got involved, and this is how big WWE is. In Vegas last year, the Super Bowl, right? Super Bowl week. So Vegas is packed.
Right.
And they just put it out there that we're going to do a press conference and come on to the stadium. They put 15,000 people in there to watch a glorified interview press conference.
I remember that.
And that's where they shot the angle with
Cody Rhodes.
Right. As The Rock says, the slap heard around the world. And I was in Jamaica at a buddy of mine's wedding, and when I heard and saw it, I had to react, so I put this video out. And remind me, and I'll send you a link so you can put it up there along with a Butterbean video so people can see that. But when The Rock saw it, and then saw Butterbean, because I did this video talking about how wrestling, this reminds me of back when wrestling was crazy hot, 96, 97, 98, 99. You know, back when we were killing it. Like, we owned the top 4 rating of all of, I think there's like 300 channels, cable, or 200 and something channels at the time. We were number 1 with Nitro. WWF was Raw, number 2. We were number 3 with SmackDown, or Thunder, and they were number 4 with SmackDown, because we had the upper hand when we were winning. And then it flipped, but we still had the top 4 rated shows on cable television. Like, we owned everything. And now with what I saw with the Bloodline and the whole thing, it's based in reality. That's what our stuff was. And when I showed the video, I showed all the stuff happened when Hulk, you know, when Nash came in and Hall came in, and then Hulk turned. And man, when he turned heel with the NWO, which was sort of baby faces still, it was cool heels, anti-heroes. But I mean, the Turner switchboards Ted Turner switchboards lit up. Like the people were calling and were so pissed that Hulk turned heel, and because their child was crying nonstop.
Right.
And I'd said all this, and The Rock ends up texting me, "Love what you're doing with Butterbean," or something like that. Left you a message. So he did it on Instagram, and he left me like 3 messages. First one talking about Butterbean, but the second one was to put over what is happening right now. Because when The Rock came in,
oh my God.
I mean, they did a whole like behind the scenes video on that with WWE. I mean, it looked like Cody was going to get bumped.
Yeah, I thought that too. Like, because, and I kind of was like, he just won the Royal Rumble. You know what I mean? You can't have him win the Royal Rumble again, because that was like
that second time.
That's the second time.
Yeah.
And not put him in the main event at WrestleMania. And I was like, yeah.
But they've got to remember, at that time, WWE was just now purchased by TKO, which is Ari, can't remember his last name, but he's the guy who's the main guy who, is the main guy of everything. And who's he going to want in the main event at WrestleMania for pay-per-view buys? Cody, or is he going to want the biggest star in the world, The Rock, and Roman? So what happened, the only reason it happened where Cody went against Roman and the whole deal was because of the people, and The Rock saw it. And this is a guy who's like the biggest star in the world. Fuck wrestling. He's the biggest star in the fucking world. And he's one of us. And for him, he said he had texted me, or not text me, he left me a voice message saying he had like an epiphany. Like, we need to go with this Cody thing. We got to go with this.
Turn me heel.
And he flipped beautifully, man. And Rock's the biggest baby face on the planet.
Right.
He is. But he can be a heel just like Hogan could.
Absolutely.
And I thought it was just so well done. And I kept telling Cody, I said, you got to trust me here, bro. Like, I don't care what it is, what happened, it's going to be the best thing that ever happened to you. And it was. Because if you can just wait it out, and this is something I've learned in my 68 and a half years, some things, and I can give you one example after another, that look like the very worst thing that ever happened to me, have turned out to be the best. The absolute best. And I'll just point to breaking my back. Your career's over. It's done. 3 different spine specialists. Look like the worst thing that ever happened to me. I'm gonna lose my contract, lose everything. Oh, I pulled myself out of that hole. You've got to go down. We all go down. You got to get depressed, but then you got to pull your head out of your ass and start figuring out how to get back up. And have that positive, that vision that you're going to do it. And I did, and it turned out to be not the best thing that happened just to me, to hundreds of thousands of people who I've helped. Absolutely. And Jake and Scott are just the tip of the iceberg, in Resurrection, Jake the Snake. Yeah. And Relentless, you see it, Butterbean, but all the regular people. I mean, like the people that aren't famous.
Right.
But they get to live this dream of having this amazing life. They put the work in. I'm just the guide.
Absolutely. Diamond Dallas Page, thank you, man, for coming to Vibe with Vito, man. This is a dream come true, and real talk, just being here, just like sharing this conversation, sharing this space with you, I want to say thank you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, buddy. Whenever I see some, young person out there who's, got heart and authenticity and drive and want to put the work in and is a good person, I'm always the first one to reach out and help out. So
we may have to do part 2, man, because
No,
I
no question.
had a shit ton of questions.
I know you
we
did.
on the time thing, but yeah, but I'll hit you up and whatever we can figure
we'll
it
get
out.
it back.
Let's
We'll get
do
it
let's
back.
do it.
Or maybe you'll end up coming down to Panama City Beach and.
Hey, please bring me there. Bring me there and let's do that. You heard it first here. You gonna bring me to Panama City Beach, man. But nah, thank you again,
All right,
man.
baby.
Hey, man, it's been another episode vibing with this. Actually, this is an exclusive episode with Diamond Dallas Page. Vibing with Vito. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment on the YouTube. And you already know the slogan. We vibrating higher. We gone.
See ya. Bang!